In this presentation, we will discuss the Summer Food Service Program and civil rights. Here's the civil rights training overview. We'll discuss the purpose, training requirements, discrimination considerations, protected classes, collection and use of data, public notification systems, long and short statements, complaint procedures, compliance review and resolution, requirements for accommodation of persons with disabilities, requirements for language assistance, conflict resolution, customer service, and helpful links. The purpose of this civil rights training is to establish and convey policy and to provide guidance and direction to the United States Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Service, and its recipients and customers. To ensure compliance with and enforcement of the prohibition against discrimination in all food and nutrition service nutrition programs and activities, whether federally funded or not. The reason we complete civil rights training is to ensure that all program recipients are being treated without discrimination while participating in child nutrition programs. Discrimination may include a denial of benefits or services that others receive, delay in receiving benefits or services that others receive, or different treatment than others, leading to disadvantage. The following are some examples of discrimination: refusing enrollment based on disability, failure to provide reasonable accommodation, serving meals at a time, place, or in a manner that is discriminatory, or failing to provide non-English materials. The protected classes for child nutrition are race, color, national origin, sex, age, and disability. Civil rights is an annual training requirement for all staff. As an SFSP sponsor, it is your responsibility to ensure that no one is discriminated against in your program. All SFSP staff must be trained annually on civil rights. Documentation of this training must be maintained by the SFSP sponsor, which includes but isn't limited to sign-in sheets, training agendas, training materials, etc. Civil rights training can be a portion of staff training for other required areas of the SFSP. Staff includes part-time workers, temporary workers, volunteers, and full-time staff, as well as both central office and site-level staff. Everyone must be trained on this important topic. Here are the annual training requirements: collection and use of data, effective public notification systems, complaint procedures, compliance review techniques, resolution of noncompliance, requirements for language assistance, requirements for accommodation of persons with disabilities, conflict resolution, and customer service. 1. The collection and use of data. Sponsors must obtain race and ethnic data annually. Self-reporting is preferred. Systems for collecting actual ethnic and racial data may be program-specific. Here is an example of a site racial ethnic data form. All sponsors are required to complete a site racial and ethnic data form at each SFSP site at least once annually during its operation. A site racial and ethnic data form and instructions can be found in the state agency SFSP Forms Book, posted to CNP as Memo SFS 20-47. Please be reminded that in completing this form, program monitors must select or assign one ethnic category and at least one racial category per observed child. In this example, under ethnic categories, we see 105 students considered as non-Hispanic or Latino. Again, those same students are then categorized into racial categories. This will at least equal 105, but could exceed that number. Here are ethnic categories: Hispanic or Latino, or not Hispanic or Latino. Hispanic or Latino is a person of Cuban, Mexican, Puerto Rican, South or Central American, or other Spanish culture or origin, regardless of race. The racial categories are as follows. Black or African American, which is a person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. Asian, a person having origins in any of the peoples of the Far East, Southeast Asia, or the Indian subcontinent. White, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North America. Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, which is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Hawaii, Guam, Samoa, or other Pacific Islands. And American Indian or Alaskan Native. This is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North America, including Central America, who maintains tribal affiliation or community involvement. Number 2, public notification systems. Sponsors must inform the public of program availability. Each agency or other subrecipient must take action to inform potentially eligible persons of their program rights. Complaint information. Applicants and participants must be advised at the service delivery point of their right to file a complaint and of the complaint process. Also, sponsors must prominently display the most current and Justice for All poster at each site, which displays the non-discrimination statement. Displayed here is the most current civil rights poster, or and Justice for All poster. Please note that this is a new version which is different than the one provided at the 2019 SFSP training. Please contact the state agency if you are in need of posters. The And Justice for All poster shall be displayed at each site in a prominent place where participants receive benefits. The non-discrimination statement changed in 2006 and again in 2013. Another updated version was received by LDOE in January of 2016 and then once more in December of 2019. Current and Justice for All posters are available if needed. SFSP sponsors shall inform potentially eligible applicants about the program, which is considered outreach. Provide information in alternative formats available for those with disabilities, such as Braille for the visually impaired. Include non-discrimination statements on all informational material provided to the public. Convey an equal opportunity message in all pictures that are used to provide program information, as well as prominently display the current and Justice for All poster. All sponsor publications distributed to the public that mention USDA child nutrition programs must include the non-discrimination statement. The complete non-discrimination statement is to be used on all documents longer than one page or one sheet of paper front and back. See the home page of the CMP website or refer to the discrimination complaint forms for the most current non-discrimination statement. The short statement is permitted in some instances, mainly when the sponsor is drafting a short document which is less than one page with general program information. The statement is, this institution is an equal opportunity provider. Those words cannot be altered in any way. Number 3, complaint procedures. All participants have a right to file. A person alleging discrimination based on a protected class has the right to file a complaint within 180 days of the discriminatory action. Acceptance. All complaints, whether written or verbal, must be forwarded to USDA. Anonymous complaints will be handled as any other complaints. Verbal. If a person makes a verbal complaint via phone or in person and refuses or is not inclined to place allegations in writing, the person to whom the allegations are made must write up the complaint, making an attempt to collect specific information. Handling of civil rights complaints. Complaints of discrimination involving USDA programs must be documented and reported in accordance with federal and USDA policy. If you receive a discrimination complaint involving child nutrition programs, The discrimination complaint form should be completed by the person filing the complaint. The form is available on the CMP website under the SFSP Forms section. All complaints, written or verbal, are to be forwarded to the USDA Director. It's preferred that the person reporting the complaint do so. The most up-to-date address is on the complaint form and the updated non-discrimination statement. Sponsors must keep civil rights documentation. They must keep written civil rights complaint procedures, as well as discrimination complaint forms that must be available at all CNP sites. Here's a link to our prototype complaint form. Information must be maintained for 3 years plus the current year. As an SFSP sponsor, please be sure that all SFSP staff is trained on how to handle complaints. Please be sure that the discrimination complaint form is available at each approved SFSP site, and that SFSP staff allow individuals to file their complaint with as little involvement in the process as possible. This prototype form can be located on the CMP website under SFSP Forms, as seen in the screenshot on the slide, or in the state agency SFSP Forms booklet, which is found under Memo SFS 20-47. Please have printed copies of the complaint form readily available at each SFSP site location. Number 4, compliance review techniques. The USDA Regional Office is responsible for the review of state agencies. Note that Louisiana is part of the USDA Southwest region. In turn, the state agency is responsible for review of local agencies and sponsors. The state agency must report any significant findings to the regional USDA office. State and local agencies must receive a pre-approval visit for civil rights compliance determination before receiving funds. All reports must be maintained as part of the records for future review. Number 5, resolution of noncompliance. If noncompliance is determined, a corrective action plan will be developed, including a time frame that will be specified in which the sponsor must demonstrate compliance. If the sponsor is unable to bring their operation into compliance, suspension of assistance or termination may result. Number 6, requirements for language assistance. Failure to provide services to limited English proficiency participants may be considered discrimination. Please take reasonable steps to assure meaningful access to all of your participants. Items to consider for limited English persons or participants. SFSP enrollment forms if applicable. SFSP menus. SFSP informational brochures. SFSP letters to families and notification. Number 7, requirements for reasonable accommodation for persons with disabilities. Please ensure that your facility is handicap accessible, that you are addressing food allergies, and that accommodations or modifications needed are addressed in a 504 or IEP are taken care of. Please call your state agency for further guidance. Memo SFS 17-87 or USDA's SP 40-2017 titled Accommodating Children in School Meals Programs 2017 edition was released in July of 2017. When a program participant has a diagnosed disability that restricts their diet, the institution must provide reasonable accommodation to ensure that the child is being furnished with compliant meals. Meal service accommodations for disability-related purposes requires a medical note from a licensed medical provider. In the state of Louisiana, these include medical doctors, nurse practitioners, and physician's assistants, or they may be permitted when included under a child's IEP or individualized education program. Modifications within the meal pattern do not require a medical statement, such as offering sun butter sandwich in place of a peanut butter sandwich for a child with a peanut allergy. In this instance, the meat or meat alternate given is served in the same portion and offered in the place of the original meat or meat alternate. There has been no change to the meal pattern in this scenario. However, modifications outside of the meal pattern do require a medical statement. If a child has a diet prescription to avoid milk, the cafeteria cannot provide 100% fruit juice in its place unless it is written on a medical statement. Medical statements must include the following: information about the child's impairment and how it restricts their diet, an explanation of what must be done to accommodate the disability, and the foods to be omitted and recommended alternatives. If the statement does not fully explain the modification needed, the SFA or sponsor needs to contact the guardian for additional information. Receipt of the clarification should not delay the SFA or sponsor from providing the modification. Conflict resolution and customer service. There may be times when discrimination is confused with poorly handled conflict. Good customer service decreases the likelihood of complaints. Here is your sponsor checklist for civil rights. Annually train all staff and volunteers on civil rights. Prominently display the current and Justice for All poster. Collect and record race and ethnic data annually. Offer meals to all eligible participants. Maintain civil rights complaint procedures and forms. Place non-discrimination statements on all printed materials mentioning child nutrition programs. Keep all records for 3 years plus the current year. Civil rights must be done yearly with all staff. You must document who is in attendance, the date of the training, and the training topics. Training is available on the CMP website. Here are some helpful links to USDA's Civil Rights website and also to FNS Instruction 113.